Hello everyone, welcome back to Believers Science Academy Bangalore. This is topic of the day. Today we'll discuss an important geopolitical event that is happening in Southeast Asia, that is Philippines revolt. And also we'll compare these events with another significant event that happened almost a decade ago, that is Arab Spring. And many people are calling all these events in South and Southeast Asia as Asia's own Arab Spring. So we'll discuss what is this Arab Spring and why are they being compared to the current issues in South Asia. So the title is Asia's Arab Spring: Corruption, Youth Protest and the Invisible Hand. So in this video, we'll discuss the events that are happening at the moment in South Asia and then compare with Arab Spring. First one, South and Southeast Asia protest compared to the Arab Spring. First is Philippines. Yesterday in the Philippines video or the Nepal 2.0 video, we already discussed what happened in the Philippines. That is majorly because of corruption. So 2025 flood control scandal. It was triggered by 545 billion Philippine peso flood control corruption scandal. What happened in Philippines was 545 billion pesos or 9.5 billion US dollars were kept for flood control projects. But in reality, they were not utilized for the project controls. Instead, they were used for corruption. So what happened here was ghost projects, kickbacks and nepotism. That is, the projects that were shown in the paper as part of the flood control projects were not there in reality. And there were corruption and the nepotism from the politicians. There were corruptions between contractors and builders, but the projects were not done. Next, the public response was tens of thousands of people protested in Manila and other cities. If you go and check in the Twitter, you will see similar images that happened in Nepal just few days back, not years, just few days back. How people especially the Gen Z, they came out in numbers and they started protesting against the government. That is happening at the moment in Philippines as well. The outcome was resignation of top officials. Though the Prime Minister and the President have not resigned, the top officials of Philippines have resigned. Heightened scrutiny of government projects and calls for disaster management reforms. So the Philippines government said, okay, we understand your issues, we understand the concerns. So what we are going to do is we are going to appoint a commission which is going to look into these corruption issues. That is where it diversifies itself from Nepal protest. What happened with Nepal? The Nepal government said, if you are going to expose us through social media, what we'll do? We are going to delete or ban all the social media from Nepal. So they banned 26 social medias, which instead of curbing the movement, it intensified the protest, which ultimately led to the death of Nepal government. Okay, next, Indonesia. In 2025, just few days before the Nepal protest, there were protests in Indonesia. Recurring protests over the corruption and infrastructure as well as flood control projects in Indonesia as well. Public anger rises because monsoon floods worsen due to poor project execution. So it is happening in Indonesia as well. The demands were they wanted transparency, accountability, and improved planning. There were many people killed because of the protest, and the government took arms into their hands to curb the protest. So similarly to the Philippines, similar to Nepal, but the final outcome, but there was no coup or there was no change in the government. Similarly, with the Philippines, corruption affects citizens' daily lives, making protests emotionally charged and highly visible. Next is the Nepal. 2025 youth-led or the Gen Z protest over the corruption and unemployment. Casualty was 70 plus deaths, thousands injured, and buildings, parliament buildings were burnt, government buildings were burnt. Many of the vehicles of the government were destroyed, and also few of the politicians were beaten to death as well. Some of the politicians were burned to death as well. Political impact was resignations and investigations were initiated. There was change in the government itself. Prime Minister Oli declared his resignation just after 2 days of protest. And similarly to Arab Spring, youth mobilization against entrenched power structures. Next was the Bangladesh. 2024 student-led protest against the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government. Our reasons were corruption and economic mismanagement. Also, issues of misuse of power by the government. Misuse of power by the government in elections. The focus was political reform, accountability, and challenge to authoritarian tendencies. This echoes Arab Spring in terms of youth management or engagement, challenging long-standing hierarchies. Next was Sri Lanka, 2024 Aragalaya movement during the worst economic crisis since independence. So Sri Lanka was on the verge of economic collapse. So the youth decided to protest. Youth decided to change the government. Youth stormed the parliament building. Youth started swimming in the parliament building. Instead of destroying, they started swimming in the parliament building, which resulted in death of the government. When the government was dead, new government was enacted. Now there was a influx of outsiders. Who are the outsiders? Not the immigrants or anyone. Outsiders of the political novelty or royalty. So these were not nepo kids, but instead people who were from the common citizens who became the leaders in Nepal. This is what happened in this is what happened in Nepal as well. Leaders in Nepal. Okay, so drivers were corruption, inflation, failures in public services, and parallel to Arab Spring, economic collapse plus government mismanagement, which led to large-scale political upheaval. Okay, so these are the events that are happening in South Asia, and that happened in South Asia in recent years. First, we'll discuss about Arab Spring. What is this Arab Spring? Arab Spring were a series of events which happened between 2010 or 2009 and 2011, where in Arab countries. It started in a country of Northern Africa, that is Tunisia. So in Tunisia 2011, 27, 2011, it was sparked by self-immolation of Mohammad Bouazizi. Was this Mohammad Bouazizi? He was a normal food seller. He was frustrated with the government. He was frustrated with the corruption. So what did he do? He burnt himself alive. He burnt himself alive in front of all the people, in front of all the dignitaries, in front of millions of people in a busy market, which was not only the fire of himself but also fire led to that led to events, that led to protests, that led to change in the government itself. So what happened? Protest forced President Ben Ali to flee after 23 years in power. So he was in power for almost 23 years. The corruption was rampant and it was authoritarian. And the burning of Mohammad Bouazizi led to protest. And as a result, the president forced to leave the country. And there was change in the government. Then in Egypt, mass protest in Tahrir Square led to President Hosni Mubarak resigning after 30 years. He was also in the power for almost 30 years and he had to resign because of the political pressure, because of the people pressure. And then in Libya, an armed uprising escalated into civil war, ending with killing of Muammar Gaddafi. Okay, so again, from Libya, it went to Yemen. In 2011, protest forced President Ali Abdullah Saleh to step down, but conflict dragged on. These two countries, Libya and Yemen, are still undergoing the civil war. Next, in Syria, from 2011 till present, that peaceful protest turned into devastating civil war that continues even today. And in Bahrain, protests demanding the reforms were crushed with the help of Gulf states. So, major events were happening in Arab as well. This was around the period of 2010, 2010 and 2011. So, you can see the reasons. Okay, the Arab Spring reasons were mainly corruption, authoritarian government, etc., etc. And the outcome was either change in regime that we saw in respect to Bangladesh, with respect to Nepal, with respect to Sri Lanka, and in some cases it led to civil war, such as Syria, Yemen. Hopefully, and fortunately, till now, no country in the South Asia has went into the civil war. So, just by seeing the timeline, just by seeing the protests in these countries, you can make a comparison. So, we'll discuss how they are similar and how they are different. Similarities with Arab Spring. Features, first one was youth mobilization. In South and Southeast Asia, students and Generation Z led the protest and social media used to organize. And in Arab Spring, young populations catalyzed protests. Social media also played a crucial role. And corruption and mismanagement, it was the cause in South Asia as well as in Arab Spring as well. Scandals in flood control, infrastructure and governance were the main reasons, and triggered by corruption, unemployment and inequality in the Arab Spring countries. And rapid spread, here social media amplified protest, cross-regional inspiration from Nepal, from Indonesia to Nepal, from Nepal to Nepal to Philippines, etc., etc. And similarly, visible descent inspired movements in other Arab countries as well. What started in Tunisia expanded till Bahrain. Next, political consequences, resignations, investigations, and selective reforms. Regimes were toppled or reformed, wide ranging political changes, which unfortunately led to civil war, which killed millions and millions of people in the countries like Syria, Yemen. Okay. Next, what is the difference between Arab Spring? Aspect is with respect to international invention. In Southeast Asia, it was mostly domestic. Some though claim of invisible hands, which we'll discuss later in the video. And in Arab Spring, there was a direct foreign interventions in countries like Libya and Syria, especially the USA. USA intervened in Libya, which ultimately led to the death or execution of Muammar Gaddafi. Then, economic causes, political drivers. In South and Southeast Asia, it was often sector specific, that is flood control, infrastructure, corruption as a unifying theme, whereas in Arab Spring, broad systematic operation and economic inequality, that is the regime which was available for 20 to 30 years, which are ruling over for 20 to 30 years, which ultimately led to authoritarian regimes and corruptions. And outcome certainty, that is government still maintains overall stability. There are but selective reforms in South and Southeast Asia. But whereas in Arab Spring, it was a bag of mixed results. Mixed results that some regimes fell, others consolidated powers. Okay. Next, implications. Okay, the implications of these movements. One is government reforms, pressure to implement transparency, accountability, anti-corruption law, and stronger oversight, and civil society engagement. Politically aware youth leveraging social media to hold government accountable, as I explained in Nepal 2.0 and Nepal protest, how Nepal Gen Z started exposing the politicians with help of TikTok, with help of Instagram reels. Okay, where they started exposing the political leaders and their kids' lavish life and the reality of Nepal. Then regional contagion effect, that is protest in one country inspire similar movements elsewhere. This reflects a ripple effect similar to Arab Spring, where citizens demand accountability in governance, disaster management, and economic policy, which subsequently spilled onto other countries as well. Then there are some conspiracy theories as well. Is it all genuine, or is it really a revolt from the people, or is it being fueled by someone else, some invisible hands? The invisible hand theory. What is this invisible hand theory? Analysts and commentators speculate that certain protests may be amplified or indirectly influenced by domestic elites aligned with foreign interests, or by foreign governments aiming to shape political outcomes. So, foreign governments aiming to shape political outcomes has been there from the long period of time. British governments during the period of their British hegemony, America, Russia, Soviet Union, all these countries were always involved in court intrigues where they wanted to change the government as well. Next, the idea is that external actors may exploit genuine grievances like corruption, economic mismanagement to destabilize regimes or shift policies. Okay. Next, mechanism suggested by the theorist. Okay, you can say that other countries involved here, other countries did that, did this, did that. So, how? What are the mechanisms? So, the theorists also give certain mechanisms, such as funding NGOs and civil society groups. Some protests may receive resources or training through international NGOs. This happened in Philippines as well. In Philippines as well. Okay. Next, digital amplification, that is social media campaigns funded or supported externally can increase visibility. This was visible or evident in Nepal and Bangladesh. And policy pressures, that is diplomacy or sanctions may accompany public unrest to push governments towards certain reforms. This happened with respect to Libya. So you can say, or you can see the events or the features or the characteristics of invisible hand theory. So you can say that though it is mainly genuine, though it is mainly drawn by the people of their government itself or people of the country itself, but there can be certain scope for the involvement of invisible hands. Next, evidences or indications. In Philippines flood control scandals, some commentators claim that highlighting corruption in flood control projects at a global scale severes or serves international narratives on government failures, though local governance are very real. though local governance was there, but internationalization of this local governance might have happened by external forces. And in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Nepal, some analysts draw parallels to Arab Springs, suggesting that youth led movements can be amplified by external media coverage or think tank advocacy as well. Next, Indonesia. Protests largely stem from the domestic infrastructure failures with little direct evidence of external influence. So, there are powers or there are certain examples showcasing the interference of external factors, but there are certain examples which do not leave scope for external influence. Role of the USA. Whenever and wherever any country is going through this turmoil, there is always a doubt or there is always a doubt in the mind of the people that whether USA is involved or not. So we'll discuss whether USA is involved. There is no confirmed direct involvement here. While the conspiracy theories sometimes implicate that US, there is no publicly verified evidences that US government orchestrates or funds protests like this. The very fact that most of the events or most of the countries which are influencing or which are undergoing these kind of protests always point their fingers to USA. The very point that they point their fingers to USA shows that USA has an undue influence on these kind of protests. Then, indirect influence. The USA promotes governance reforms and anti-corruption measures in its foreign aid and developmental programs. So, because of this US aid that has funded to lots of NGOs, it always fuels anti-government protests. That is what happened in India from Greenpeace NGO as well. Next, critics argue that advocacy for transparency and accountability can indirectly empower protest movements, though this is different from direct interferences. Okay, so there is no direct interference of USA in this particular regard, but there might be hand of USA through NGOs, through civil societies. Okay, next, critical perspective of these movements. One is local governances are primary. As long as you do not address the grievances of local people, you are within the reach of the people. You are at the helm of, or you are at the courtesy of the people. They can raise, they can revolt, and they can change the government as soon as possible. Okay, corruption, mismanagement, and economic inequality are the root causes of protest, not foreign agendas. External influence is secondary, but the major reason is the local domestic grievances. Any invisible hand is likely opportunistic amplification rather than orchestration. Next, dangers of conspiracy narratives. Suggesting foreign interference can delegitimize the genuine civil society movements as well and shift the blame away from local governance failures. So, it is partly externally funded or it is partly externally influenced, but majorly influenced by the local grievances. Only when there is local grievances, only when there is issue at the local level, it provides an opportunity for the external actors to influence. So, conclusion: while the conference theories exist suggesting that external forces, possibly USA, could be exploiting protests for strategic purposes, the main drivers remain domestic. That is corruption, mismanagement, unemployment, and lack of accountability. External forces may amplify visibility or media coverage, but protests are overwhelmingly citizen driven. So, from this video, we can say that majority of these events that are happening in the South Asia or Southeast Asia are mainly driven by the local grievances. So, instead of focusing on conspiracy theories, what we should focus on is bringing changes and bringing reforms in the governance, reducing corruption, becoming more accountable, becoming more transparent, creating employment, creating job opportunities, creating economic virtuous cycles. That should be the focus instead of focusing on and conspiracy theories. So this is the today's video. This is today's topic. If you have any your opinions, if you feel like my version of video or my version of my opinions is wrong here, you can write in the comment box. If you have any other theories, if you have any other conspiracy theories, you can write in the comment box. And if you have any suggestions for me, you can write in the comment box also. And if you want any topics to be discussed, you can write down in the comment box, which will bring a video on that one as well. So if you like the video, then please hit the like button, comment on it, and also share with your friends. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon so that you don't miss a notification. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind, Jai Karnataka.